The next step in the reclamation phase of our journey is to reclaim your foundations. And this is imperative because our bodies are meant to respond to specific signaling, whether it's circadian rhythm related to light exposure, whether it is to sleep and the amount of deep and restorative sleep we get. All of these things and these inputs get thrown off in our day-to-day life. And we, especially in this modern life where we are indoors most of the day, often exposed to fluorescent or harsh lighting, where we are not getting restorative sleep, we're getting exposure to blue light at night. So all of these disruptive environmental things can really be another cause for how and why we end up in a survival state, which is why a big piece of reclaiming involves getting those stabilized. So what I recommend in this part of your journey is that you take a look at things that may sound boring. What is your diet? How well are you sleeping? How much exercise are you getting? We've all heard these questions or asked ourselves these questions over and over again, but the difference is very clear at this point on the planet, which is we are understanding more about how sensitive our cells are to these types of things. The fact that we actually have a clock in our mitochondria. Our mitochondria likes to know what time it is. Our cells like to know what time it is. Really? Who knew that? So when we are shift workers or when we are getting exposed to very bright light where we have all the lights on late at night, our cells are confused. That can be a sign that you are stressed, that you go back into survival state or protection mode where you can't hit that optimal function. So you want to look at several pieces of this foundational part, which is things like your sleep. So, and I would say light exposure and sleep, your circadian rhythm. Things that trigger melatonin, which is a very protective antioxidant for your mitochondria. Get that light exposure straightened out. If you can get first morning sun exposure, it starts a lot of biological systems. It tells them it's time to do certain things. Everything from even how you respond to cortisol all the way to your metabolism is going to rely and respond better when you get early morning sun exposure. Along the same lines, being wary of blue light and EMFs and our exposure to technology and our phone at night, which can disrupt everything from our sleep to the day-to-day functions and our ability to move fluidly in our fascia. So all of these things that seem like boring recommendations, now we're understanding how much the body relies on them. So take a look at your light exposure, your sleep, consider measuring it. And remember, there are many devices you can put into airplane mode. So I don't recommend wearing tracking devices all the time, but I do think getting the knowledge and the excitement that we can actually understand what our body's doing is very, very helpful. So maybe wearing the Oura Ring for a few days on airplane mode when you sleep, just to get an idea. What is your HRV, which is a guideline that you can use? What is your deep sleep? Are you getting restorative REM sleep? So paying attention to that level of foundational work, along with the everlasting question about your diet. So I have found in my career that different times in people's lives, they may respond really well. And this was true for me too, to different types of dietary recommendations. Everyone agrees that processed food, these processed, seed oils, things that are chemically based are a problem, and that the toxic load from things like glyphosate is an issue. So what I recommend, instead of a very sort of strict macro recommendation for people, is that you pay attention to removing the things that are known problems, whether it's, again, pesticides, seed oils, overactive, quick-acting, high-sugar carbs. Get that out of your diet. Work on whole foods, whether it's organic fruits and vegetables, trying to eat locally, making sure you're getting enough protein, ideally a clean source. That's what I want you to do nutritionally. And I think in terms of pushing it with fasting, Most people, if they eat sort of more like the typical 3 meals, is a better way for your biology. And you can tell by wearing, again, a tracking device. My favorite when it comes to food and your dietary recommendations is a CGM, or a continuous glucose monitor. If you're curious if certain foods or ratios of macros are good for your biology or not, put it on for about 7 to 10 days and try things. This is not necessarily for you to go back and report to your practitioner, although you could get input there. It's more for you and your knowledge to see how is your body responding. When you are more stressed, you may have less tolerance for a lot of quick acting carbs, but at the same time, you can hit a place where if you fast, your blood sugar can get elevated. Very, very fascinating, which brings the nuance of what do I eat to a new level. So work foundationally on maybe measuring sleep, working on your light environment, measuring your blood sugar response to certain foods, mixing it up, staying away from processed chemicals, and eating more clean, organic, and locally, and even seasonally. You can look into doing that, because we are now seeing that not only do we respond to the time of day based on sunlight, but we also respond to seasons. So somebody who lives way up north versus near the equator may very well have a different requirement or a different biological response to the foods that they are eating. So that, along with exercise, movement, especially 10 or 15 minutes of walking after eating. If you're an athlete, tracking, if your workout's making you more tired, pushing your blood sugar too high, decreasing your heart rate variability, then you may need to dial it back. We all want to work on strength training. So looking at your sleep, your exercise, your diet, how you manage stress, and we talked about that in the prior video. Can you bring in journaling or some listening to a guided meditation? Very basic things to get you just to feel more centered. Grounding, which is another one of my very favorite things. Restoring the foundational concept that we are meant to be connected to the earth, that this planet we're on is here for a purpose. The sun is here for a purpose. So putting your feet in the earth, leaning up on a tree. There are grounding devices, whether it is a grounding pad under your desk or a sheet, or now there's grounding shoes. I can't say that all of them have evidence-based data behind them, but they are interesting. So looking into ways to get more exposure to the frequencies of the earth in this world that we live in. So I hope that's helpful in terms of bringing a new light to what restoring and reclaiming your foundational connection is to these basic things that we do every day. How can you upgrade them as you go on the journey from reclaiming yourself all the way to optimizing and transcending?